The Xbox Live Arcade was an online marketplace for the Xbox 360 that mostly housed indie games. Each game had to have leaderboards, achievements, a small file size, and a free trial. This mindset of community and casualness made a perfect breeding ground for some of the most unique video games ever created. Games such as Braid, Fez, and Limbo are household names in the indie game scene at this point, and they all got their start on XBLA. However, for every masterpiece the service offered, there would be a game like Space Giraffe. What's happening? One of the famous ancient Greek proverbs is, if there is a video game platform, crappy licensed sports games will be on it, which rings true for the XBLA. There are dozens that I could talk about that are each amazing in their own right, but I'm going to talk about my two favorites. Despite their simplicity, obscurity, and critical reception, I believe they're two of the greatest games made for the Xbox 360, if not of all time. Firstly, we'll be talking about MLB Stickball. MLB Stickball was the final game created by Gaia Industries, a defunct indie studio specializing in budget mobile and console games. Somehow, the space-time fabric warped in just the right way for them to strike a deal with Topps baseball cards, Major League Baseball, and 2K Sports. Cram three big brands like that into a cheaply made Xbox 360 game and we got a masterpiece on our hands. In this game, MLB's most famous players are twisted into bobblehead versions of themselves to play stickball, which is a street version of baseball that used to be popular way back when. In the context of the game, it's basically normal baseball with wacky foul lines and targets to hit. For example, in the Brooklyn map, hitting the cars in the street will earn you extra runs, but hitting the windows in the buildings will give you an out. Before each game, you can select your team by unlocking MLB players through card packs, or by choosing some of baseball's Hall of Famers such as control hitter and all-rounder. Each player has their own unique stats, and balancing your team is an important factor. Batting is pretty straightforward. If the ball is inside the strike zone, you swing to hit it at the right time. A is for a normal swing, but B is for a faster swing that has a tighter timing window but gives you more power. Pitching, though, is where this game really shines. You hold the left stick in the position around the strike box that you want to pitch, then hit any of the four colored buttons on the controller. Each button corresponds to a different pitch type: grounder, fastball, lob, and curveball. How long you hold the button for determines the power of the pitch. If you hold it for just enough so the meter on screen lands in the max zone, it'll hide where your pitch is going to go. Your pitcher stats also determine the randomness and speed of your pitch. At first, your pitches will be simple, easy to read balls that'll tell you if you need to swing or not. Once you nail your timings though, your opponent will never tell if you're throwing inside the strike zone or not. You'll eventually discover a surprising number of tricky pitches if you play for long enough. One of my favorites that always confuses the batter is throwing a ground bounce pitch as high as possible. This, for whatever reason, will completely negate the bounce. The only real gripe I have with this game is that most of the maps suck. Chicago is really the only good one. Brooklyn is too narrow, Boston is too long, Los Angeles is too empty, St. Louis has stupid foul lines, and San Francisco has an out-of-bounds area that covers a third of the map. Regardless, MLB Stickball is janky, unpredictable, but extremely fun. Me and my friends have had many labs and spike controllers over lucky hits and evil pitches. I will admit that this game does take some learning and practice to get good and have fun. So maybe you want something you can pick up and play instantly. Maybe instead of hitting people with baseballs, you want to elbow them into the bleachers. Well then, let me introduce to you 3-on-3 NHL Arcade. In 2008, EA Sports wanted to branch out into the casual gaming market, as their flagship sports games could be considered too realistic and complex. Thus, the publishing label EA Sports Freestyle was born, and then killed a year later. After their in-house studio, EA Canada, was finished making NHL 09, they were tasked with making a game for this new initiative. They came up with 3-on-3 NHL Arcade, a fast-paced hockey game that was released for both Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network in 2009. You can already tell it's an awesome game just by the menu sound effects alone.
Blorp. Click, click. Blorp.
The controls are very simple, and you'll be able to learn them instantly. If you don't have the puck, you can use the colored buttons to switch players, elbow people, or swing your stick. Most of the time, people will just spam the elbow button to try and check everyone. If you do have the puck, you can pass, juke, and choose between 3 different types of shots. There's the standard shot, the trick shot that never works, and the secret slap shot. By flicking the right stick, you can fire off a super powerful shot, but you'll be vulnerable when you're winding it up. The general strategy is to have one of your players knock down the goalie while the other scores on an open net. Oftentimes though, everyone just dogpiles into the goal spamming buttons. Like MLB Stickball, you can play as real professional players in this game, though their stats are watered down into 3 categories: fast, strong, and all-around. Choosing a team is pretty self-explanatory. By far the main highlight of this game though is the power-ups. When you check someone, there's a chance they'll drop a power-up for one of your players to pick up. This will activate a special ability for a certain amount of time. For example, Big Player will give one of your players more checking power, meaning anyone who dares to near you will get knocked into the stratosphere. Small Goalie shrinks down the opponent's goalie and plays a hilarious sound effect. I could honestly talk about this game forever, but in the interest of your time and sanity, I'll stop here. Both of these games I've talked about are not only incredibly fun, but a reminder of when times where fun gameplay were prioritized over graphics, marketing, or budget. The games industry today has lost their touch in that regard, where every game has to have some cinematic story or flashy tagline. I think more studios need to make games like these two, ones where you can just kick back on the couch with a few friends and laugh. Unfortunately though, more and more of these Xbox Live Arcade games are disappearing. MLB Stickball was pulled from the Xbox Store in late 2014 due to expired licenses with the sports companies. 3-on-3 NHL Arcade fared somewhat better, surviving until 2016, with its online matchmaking servers remaining active until March 2020. Since these were digital-only releases with no backwards compatibility options, there's no way for the general public to play these anymore without owning a console with the game already on it. You could also play them with an emulator on your computer if you rip the game files from your console, or by finding them in the shadiest corners of the internet. As a disclaimer, I am not advocating or endorsing piracy, I'm simply pointing it out as a route some people take. If you are EA or 2K, please don't get mad at me, thanks. As it stands, it's very difficult to play these games today, and just straight up impossible to play them online. I know that remasters or re-releases of them will never happen due to licenses and whatnot, but I think replacements or recreations would be amazing for both consumers and companies. I'll give EA credit where credit is due though. The recent NHL games at least tried to follow up 3-on-3 with the Arcade 3s mode. Although they look pretty similar, they play very differently. There's only one power-up, the money puck, and the pacing and physics feel slower since they're based on a realistic engine. You also have to aim your shots now and try not to commit any penalties. I mean, I guess it's better than nothing, but Arcade 3s is a far cry from what once was, and what could have been. So, if you're an indie developer or AAA studio, I challenge you to carry on the legacy that XBLA sports games left behind. True arcade-style fun like this is lost in today's industry. Don't worry too much about budget, reviews, or marketability. Focus on creating snappy controls, goofy animations, hilarious sounds, and janky gameplay. And if you're someone who just likes to play video games, I encourage you to try and obtain these games, or ones like it. And while you're at it, pass some controllers and junk food around to your friends. It'll be refreshing playing something that doesn't require insane aim or impossible mechanics. A game where you can just screw around with some buddies. Xbox Live Arcade sports games are some of the best games I've ever experienced, and they're on the verge of being forgotten. I hope this video helps to pull them out of obscurity a little bit. Thanks for watching.